Welcome everybody to DAT Poker Podcast, episode 73, 72 audio versions. This is our first video version. This is presented right here by Daniel Negreanu's Masterclass of Poker. I'm your host, Dave Schwartz, alongside producer extraordinaire, Roscoe P. Coltrane.
Hey, Poker World.
Terrence Chan.
I've never been so simultaneously stoked as well as self-conscious for something. I'm glad we're throwing this together, and I'm just like, all I can think about is like, wow, I probably should have combed my hair at least a little bit. Like, I got all this mess going on back here behind me. Yeah, I'm going to have to clean this thing up next week, but I'm excited. We've stepped into the 21st century with this, and now we're just going to be the Joe Rogan podcast of poker with like 8 bajillion views, and we're all going to swim in swimming pools of money like Scrooge McDuck because this thing's gonna be so popular.
I love how we're excited about something people have been doing for 9 years. It's so great. Also love your retro Nordiques t-shirt.
Yes, thank you.
It's awesome.
Yeah. Second compliment today I've gotten it, and I haven't left the house because the guy who came to work on my property was like, "Hey, go Nordiques," and I said, "Yeah, nice. We're going all the way this year."
Love it. And Daniel Negreanu in Las Vegas. Daniel, quickly, I mentioned the Masterclass of Poker. I saw that USA Today did a top 10 Masterclasses rankings. I think it was based on feedback and what they thought was best. And considering the company you're in the Masterclass series, pretty impressive result for you there.
Dude, that was a big deal. Like, I knew internally from the Masterclass people that my class was crushing it. That it was really, selling like hotcakes, and they put a ton of money into marketing it. But to see my name number one ahead of guys like Gordon Ramsay and the like, good for poker, good, it was definitely, it felt like an honor. I mean, it's just a random USA Today article, but to wake up to it, it was a nice little feeling. I want to say too, though, in addition to all that, like just watching your faces, right? You look so fucking nervous. You feel like parents is all, and then Adam's like, oh yeah, what am I doing here? Is this what the kids do, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Ross just looks like fucking stoned. I don't know. Probably.
Daniel, are you getting your food delivery? I'm a little bit worried about you now that I see you after 7 or 8 weeks.
Seriously, there. Right? It's like my neck is all skinny shit. I cook for myself. Well, my chef cooks and I heat it up. But I've been doing shit with the.
It's what rich people call cooking for themselves.
I swear to God, I've become really good at baking protein powder. Like, instead of using flour, I just use protein powder to make cookies and cakes and all kinds of danishes and shit like that. Really good stuff. I got hopefully 3 more weeks of cut and then done, because I want to have abs. I just want a 6-pack. That's it. And so we're close, but it's hard, especially when you're over 40, to just get rid of that last little bottom fat. I mean, Terrence, you've done it.
It is true. I mean, like, there's a thing that testosterone drops approximately 1% starting at the age of 30 every year. And yeah, that's why you kind of tend to hold on to the last little bit of fat, because testosterone is a really good fat burner. That's why people often turn to the good old Mexican supplements in athletics and stuff like that. Not that we're encouraging any of that, but if you're just doing it, I mean, nobody here competes in anything, so if you did it, I wouldn't care. But yeah, the last little bit is super hard. But that's the thing. Like, having 6-pack abs is great. It's not really necessary for health. Having 9% body fat, it's a thing that you do because you want to do it, not because it's healthier significantly than being 13.
Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah, all I'm thinking in my head is I just want to have one set of pictures where I once had a 6-pack in my life. And then,
I can do that. I mean, yeah. just try to cut to like a ridiculously low.
Well, I don't want to do it where I'm giving up a bunch of muscle too. Like, I want to do it properly.
No, but what I said, like, so my second to last fight, I have a picture from my weigh-ins, because I usually weigh when I'm competing like 142, 143 pounds. I'm 5'7", so I have to cut down to 125 to make the weight class. And so all you have to do is dehydrate yourself. And bodybuilders do this too. They dehydrate themselves before they go on stage.
Yeah, for sure.
So I'm cutting down from 142 to 125. There is a photo of me, and there's just like I don't recognize this human. It is just abs on top of abs, and it's ridiculous. But I'll never look like that again, because I'm never going to cut my body weight down to 125 pounds and deplete 15 pounds of water in a day anymore, hopefully.
Everybody got their quarantine salad going? Party in the front, party in the back.
Jeez,
it's all over the place.
Oh yeah,
I'm shaving it off soon. It's just when it gets warm enough here, like if I was in Las Vegas like Daniel, it would have already been gone. It'd be number one all the way. Zoom. Yeah.
No, every day I get up, it's is this going to be the day that I just take the clippers and go bald?
Oh,
One
you
day.
got to do it on the day that we do the next video chat.
Oh, we get yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah.
Do it live.
Is that Eddie in the back? I think I see it.
That's
I
Eddie
think there's an Eddie
right
sighting.
there. Getting
You're an
takeout.
Eddie sighting.
You're
You know,
adopted.
Eddie came over here, right, just for a visit to hang out for a couple weeks before the quarantine and everything. And all of a sudden, you know, we're all in lockdown, so he hasn't, you know, he's been there.
Can't leave.
It would be unethical and immoral of him to leave. He would be contributing to the pandemic.
Yeah. It's a long drive back to LA.
We've got some stuff to get caught up on this week. Not a ton of poker news, but quickly, we've been talking about The Last Dance each week. This is the Michael Jordan documentary on Netflix. That's just fantastic, and really not just the sports world, but many people. We're all watching as much content as we can, but this has really taken over and fantastic. Did you guys happen to watch 7 and 8 last night?
I feel like I have to hit the sit out button because last week we did this podcast on the Sunday and it drops on Sunday. This week we're doing it on the Monday, but it was yesterday. But I was, you know, it was Mother's Day, so that means, you know this, Adam. If Mother's Day happens, Dad doesn't get to do shit all day.
Oh, Mother's Day happened and Dad still watched this. Come on.
All right. Well, you got ahead of me on that one. Well, your kids are old enough to make their own damn breakfast in bed and shit. So, yeah. I'm up to episode 6. I'm looking on 7 or 8. You know, it's a good thing. I would never be able to make appointment TV like, you know, Game of Thrones and stuff like that, like stuff that everybody watches at the same time, because I would get spoiled like hell. But I mean, obviously The Last Dance, I know what happens. I'll survive. But yeah, seeing it on Twitter, I'm just like, I'm kind of refreshing Twitter going like, fuck, I want to watch it right now. I was in the parking lot of a Home Depot today telling my girlfriend, do you want to just watch this on the phone right now while the Home Depot guy loads our truck? And she's like, no, we'll watch it at home. And I'm like, damn it.
It's good that she wants to watch it. Daniel, you been watching?
Buddy, I can't. As soon as it's on, I get so full of joy. And I'm so like, I can't get enough of this. I really wish it was like 100, 200, you know, episode series. And I've always liked Michael Jordan. Okay, I always liked him. And like just seeing like sort of the highs and lows, and like I can relate on maybe 1/10% of like what he deals with. But like if you just watch, you know, the show, and like everybody's around him all the freaking time, right? So he loves his alone time. He's just like, leave me alone. You know, and he's a nice enough guy, but after a while, it's like, fuck y'all. But what I really find interesting part of his personality too is like, he's just that guy, like he's such a competitor that if you play on his team, you better rise to the occasion and you better give it your all. And what he says, which I think is really important, one of them, he says, I'm not asking any of these motherfuckers, I think was the appropriate term, to do anything that I'm not, right? He's just asking them to be their best, and he'll ride you. So the question is he a nice guy? If he's on your team, you know, the goal is to win and to compete. So sometimes that means, you know, you're going to sacrifice the niceties of like, oh, hey, good try, buddy. Hang in there. You'll get it next time. He's like, get the fucking ball in the hole. You know, you got to focus. You got to work, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, sometimes a lot of people, they need that kind of kick in the pants. It's interesting that I watched another video a while ago, and I wonder if I'll get to it, with Kwame Brown, I think it was, when he played in Washington. Like, he did that to him. And this guy was like a highly touted rookie for the Wizards when he moved on to that career. And apparently, like, Jordan just destroyed this guy's career because he was so mentally in his face that the guy just couldn't handle it and crumbled and just fought. Under Jordan, he felt like he was the worst basketball player of all time.
So I want to ask you guys a question, because it talks to what Daniel's talking about of bringing up your teammates and all this stuff, and, you know, kind of tearing them down and kind of bringing them up. You know, we were all professional poker players, you know, for various lengths of time. Adam, I know you were a team sports guy. I was never really like a team sports guy. Part of it was I wasn't any fucking good, and I probably wasn't like gonna make any team. But I've always been an individual sports guy myself, and poker is an individual pursuit. Daniel, you know, you're a golf guy, you're a poker guy. How do you guys feel about like poker as an idea, the fact that it is a solitary sport, and like, yeah, now you got friends and buddies that you trade your hand histories with and all this kind of stuff. But with respect to that, like, you know, Adam, you're a team sports guy. I want to hear your perspective about like how is like poker competitiveness like jive different from team sports competitiveness?
Well, team sports, like you said, I mean, obviously it's all about, you know, improving everybody around you and the talk about Michael. But poker, what I did was I seeked out for people like you. And when we became friends quite early in our poker careers, You know, whether it's talking about hands, lending money when a guy's running bad or whatever, you almost make it a kind of a team sport in that way, because we weren't. I mean, sometimes we'd be in the same games, but it wasn't often, because there was enough games out there, and we could kind of, you know, just hang out with a crew and make it a bit of a team. You know, obviously you're not doing anything untoward, but you're, you know, sharing as much as you can to help your other people be successful in your friend group.
Yeah, I love that. I think there's a lot of ways in which you can look at like poker being sort of a team thing, right? Where like way back when, me, John Jawanda, Alan Cunningham, and Phil Ivey, we used to hang out.
That guy.
We weren't a team per se, but like we rooted for each other, right?
Yeah.
We shared information. Today, I would say like the closest thing I can think of for me, you know, in feeling that sort of Jordan-esque type error is like when you're staking people, right? If you have like 4 or 5 people that you're like, they're your proteges, you're teaching them the ways, you're trying to get them down the right path, like sometimes they could use a little bit of tough love. It's like, wait a minute, what would we talk about? We said 6-hour sessions, 5 days a week, and you played a 35-hour session smashed out of your, you know, on your face. Like there's sometimes like a similar professionalism required there.
That's why I bring the question up, because, you know, we all had people that we came up with and play poker, you know, and yours are obviously some of the legends of the game, but we all had those people as we came up. But at the end of the day, like, you know, if you weren't staking, say, Alan Cunningham, and he just decided to play like shit for a month, like it wasn't money out of your pocket. You know, it was, you know, you would feel bad because he's your friend and you would want him to do well, but it's not like, would you really just be in the gear to kick his ass to get better? Now it's different when you have like a backer horse relationship where you're like, oh, you're playing with my money, you better fucking smarten up. But I think it's so different, and this is why, like, I was never part of why I wasn't able to do team sports too was because I always wanted to do my own thing and kind of like learn in my own way and work hard, and it bugged me when other people didn't do things the right way or the way that I thought doing them. And poker allows you to have the camaraderie of like a group of people that are your peers and that are sort of your teammates, and that you're working, you know, with them in terms of strategy or advice or whatever. But ultimately your success at the table is only on you. Like nobody else can play a hand for you.
I tell you what, so back in the day, right, John Jawanda represented to us in the group like the disappointed father, right? And it wasn't about money. Like we weren't necessarily, you know, swapping, but like, you know, you lose 3 sessions in a row, John would go, you must not be playing well. You believe, because he never lost 2 days in a row. Like if he lost a session, he'd be like, what happened? Because he just always won. You know, he was ran good freaking like God playing these heads up games with Yoshi Nakano, triple draw. But like I would lose 3 times in a row and he'd give me that, you must be playing really bad. I'm like, John, I fucking had aces against 6s, all in on the turn. 6 hit the river. He's like, there was probably a way you could have got him off it. You know, he always was like, he when you would tell a hand history, usually you just go, so what would you do here? He's like, well, who won the hand?
He's really good at being an Asian mom, is what you're saying.
Yes. He was like, so I definitely feel that, you know, with friends or, you know, with your group, your team, if you will, whether you have a financial investment or not, I do think there's a lot of like that sort of teammate vibe to it where, you know, if you are actual friends, like there are those people in the world that, you know, on the surface root for their buddies and then really deep down, they're like, man, I don't want them to do better than me. You know, so you're like, you know, under your breath, you're actually rooting against them. But if they're real friends to you, you know, when you see them succeed, you're super stoked for them.
Just to circle back to the Michael Jordan stuff, I wanted to ask you guys, and Terrence, I know you haven't caught up quite, but through what you've seen, of course, a lot of us watched Michael and, you know, through his career, but looking back on it now and having the inside look, do you respect Michael more or less after seeing this group of videos? Because as Daniel said, some of them he doesn't come off very good. He picks on Scotty Burrell, and the latest one's pretty harsh. I mean, Bill Winnington says something like, was he an asshole? Yep. But he was on my team, that kind of stuff. So, I mean, I'm curious, Terrence, why don't you go first?
It's funny that you say that, because I went through the first 6 episodes going, I'd always heard Michael was an asshole, but I'm not seeing it. And so I'm looking forward now to you mentioning that, because I do want to get that sort of balanced view of like, you know, the straddling that line between competitive and making your teammates better and making them championships and just being an asshole. And I'm curious whether he oversteps that line and to what extent and how he does it. So, I mean, through 6 episodes, obviously, like the first 6 episodes are pretty favorable impression of him. I mean, the worst things he does is essentially bully Jerry Krause in those first 6 episodes for being short.
It's worse in the last couple. But like you said something important too, Adam, about, you know, what Bill Wennington said. He says like he was an asshole, but then you left out the second part. But it worked, right?
Yeah.
And Scottie Pippen also said, you know, sometimes we needed that. We needed a guy to kick us in the pants like that, like when he came back. Because Pippen was always kind of the nice guy. They brought Jordan in, and he sort of played that role. So it was effective. Like, everyone's motivated differently. Like, I don't particularly feel like I need people to ride me like that because it doesn't, you know, do it. But for a lot of people that are just, like, complacent, you know, not energized. My favorite part, and you haven't seen this yet, Terrence, is, like, the Steve Kerr fight. Yeah. Where they actually punched each other in the face, and after it was over, it's like, enough respect for you. You know, he's trying to see some fight. That's what he's trying to do to Scott Burrell. He's waking him up. He's like, get pissed off, get mad. But he's like, Scott Burrell's the nicest guy in the world. He just wouldn't get upset. He just laughed along with me. It didn't work with him.
But the interesting thing is, like, there's a difference on how he treated, obviously, you know, Scottie Pippen was a great player and he was there, but Scottie Pippen did some things that were pretty, I'm not going to say offside, but they were.
Oh, yes, they were.
He did detrimental to the team.
Yeah. Like
Scottie Pippen, man, there's a whole bunch of stuff about him, right? But like, so here's the tough spot this guy's in. He has 2 people in his family in a wheelchair, right? So he sees a contract that says X million dollars, but long term, he's like, I need to lock that money up. I can't take a risk on getting injured because I got mouths to feed and I got people to take care of. So what ends up happening is, deeper into his career, he's the 6th highest paid player on the freaking team, 124th in the league, and maybe the 2nd best player in the entire league. So there's this bitterness that develops, right? Then there's the other added bitterness of Jerry Krause and the comments that he'd make about Tony Kukoc being the future of the franchise. And Pippen's like, you know, I haven't even got fucked paid yet. And you're already talking about this Kukoc guy, right? So now, you know, in the game, you'll see the last shot, Phil Jackson writes it up to go to Kukoc, and Pippen says, I'm not playing. I mean,
and the migraine game too, right? I mean, and then like you said about the contract, Scottie signed the contract. He took the money when he knew that was going to be a possibility, and then
you can renegotiate. I mean, if you want to be a good faith guy and you look like this guy just won us 3 championships, maybe we're like throw him a bone. You don't have to. You absolutely don't have to. But you know, it's a spot where, like, for example, if I staked, you know, Terrence in a tournament where I gave him like 10% of the, you know, I give him like 10% free roll or 20% free roll, then he wins the thing. He wins $1 million. Like, I mean, I might give him a little bonus. Like, Pippen probably deserved a bonus somewhere along the line. So I get bitterness, but again, you're right. You know, he signed the contract, and then all of a sudden, league revenues because of Michael Jordan went through the roof.
Yeah.
So what if Bill
trying to Google
Wennington?
real quick when the NBA salary cap came into thing, because that probably would have had an effect.
But also, Scottie must, like, Jordan was getting all the endorsements, so he was on the bottom end of that as well. So like he would get all the secondhand endorsements, I'm sure.
Sure.
He was in NBA Jam, because I remember NBA. You guys play any NBA Jam?
I have. Hold on. That right there is an NBA Jam.
Oh, so you can't play Jordan in it, right? Like, because they didn't have the ring.
No, there's no Jordan.
So I guess what I'm saying though is, like, what if Bill Wennington has a headache in Game 7, right, or a migraine or whatever, and can't play? Like, is Michael treat him the same? Because he was pretty easy on Scottie. If you watch that video, he didn't really go hard on Scottie.
He did a little though. You could see he was a little annoyed. He's like, migraine.
A little annoyed is different than Scott Burrell. You can't play.
Yeah, because Scott Pippen though, because Pippen for him was, he said it, his best teammate ever. He showed up. He showed the work ethic. He did his job. And you notice another thing too. Dennis Rodman, the wild cracker guy, Jordan had nothing but positive things to say about his basketball game and his ethics. And like, he will do his job, you know? So Michael Jordan's the type of guy that is simple. Like, for me, it's about integrity. And I respect and admire this, and I'm like-minded. If you're dealing with people that do what they say they're going to do and they do it the best that they can, great. John Paxson, not the best basketball player. Steve Kerr, not the best. But if they give it their best, you know, you're okay with Jordan.
Mm-hmm. All right. True. We never really, before we go, we never really touched on the gambling from the last week.
Right.
And the best scene ever is him throwing quarters against a wall with security guards. And he's like at the height of NBA
all the gambling stuff drove me nuts. Like, you know, it's like, this is so true. And this is something I could relate to. The media, right? So he says, like, I wish I wasn't a role model. Go looking back. He's like, because it's an unwinnable game. It's a lose-lose, right? They build you up, put you on this pedestal, right? And then the media just they look for any little crack to tear you down and rip you apart, right? For him, it's like he likes gamble at golf. Who gives a shit? He's a multimillionaire, now a billionaire. So if he plays 50,000 a hole, what's it your business? He's not, raping babies. He's just gambling for money. But they made it out to be this like evil thing. And then they tie his gambling to his father. How disrespectful those media members. Like literally, we're trying to say, well, was he shot because of Michael Jordan's gambling? Like this guy's dealing with the loss of his father, and you throw that in the newspaper, you should get a punch in the face from Michael Jordan direct for shit like that.
I feel like that happens a little less now. Sorry, Adam, but I feel like if there was that now, like if a LeBron character, blew off some steam by gambling, it wouldn't be the story that it would be. But the NBA's always had this super ridiculous the fact that Las Vegas has, is such a basketball city and has never even had a sniff of the NBA tells you all you need to know. But, I think we've come a little bit in the last 25 years. I don't know if you guys agree.
Yeah, I'd say there's a big backlash just going back to that, to the media suggesting that, or a couple of the members of the media suggesting it. I don't think, and it was backlash from the media. Like I remember stories about how could a writer writing, how could another writer write this kind of thing? Like, I mean, there's just so many people covering it. You're bound to have a couple of idiots say dumb stuff, right?
Yeah, of course. But not everyone's guilty, right? But like, there was just so many people like trying to attack this guy. So this guy, his father dies. He's won 3 championships. He decides, I want to go play baseball, and I want to continue to improve at baseball. And then Sports Illustrated, these cocksuckers, put him on the front, missing a baseball pitch by like, a foot, and says, bag it, Jordan, telling him to quit baseball. He's like, screw you. I'm a self-made man. I like playing baseball. I'm enjoying what I'm doing. Who are you to tell me what I got to do with my career? It's not okay. I don't like that shit. And it still happens to this day. People are always looking for stories for clickbait, and they're always at the expense of others and trying to attack and hurt with no recourse. And Jordan even said that interview with Sports Illustrated, they never even asked him a question. He's like, you could have asked me, why am I doing this? Ask him. He said I would have been open. And if you want to write something. They didn't even
I wouldn't make it 5 minutes. I mean, like, that's an exaggeration. Like, I would, like, that thing, I don't remember if it was episode 5 where they were like, people say they want to be Michael Jordan, but they couldn't be Michael Jordan for a year. Like, there's no, I wouldn't make, I could probably make it a day and be polite to people without hitting anybody. I wouldn't make it a week. Like, I don't think I'd be able to be your level of fame, Daniel, and just be kind of like, people in the grocery store coming up to you and that kind of thing. Like, much less like the Michael Jordan level of fame where everybody is writing about it and people are just going through your trash and like looking for things and like, who's he dating? Where is he at 3 o'clock in the morning? What sport's he playing? Why is he doing that? Like, I would just murder everybody in sight. I wouldn't be able to stand the celebrity.
It affects your personality in a big way. And there are 3 big guys that I always compare because they're always so similar. Their mannerisms, I feel like maybe 2 of them followed Michael Jordan in his footsteps in terms of the way that their manner. Because like when I watch Michael Jordan and Tiger Woods, I see Phil Ivey. Like I see him on the golf course with me. And all 3 of them share something, and I've met Tiger a bit and I know Phil Ivey real well. They all share this kind of like uncomfortability with media attention, right? They love what they do. They're great at what they do, but they just want to do that. And then they want to kind of like be left alone, but it's impossible. So they end up in this bubble. So what that ends up coming off sometimes as standoffish, arrogance, closed down. But it's like there's a lack of trust, Everybody wants to be in Tiger's circle. Everybody wants to be in Jordan's. Same true, on a smaller level with a guy like Phil Ivey. And they don't want that. Like they never did. I remember the first time WPT came around and they're like, we want to do a photo shoot. This is before any of us were names. And they asked Phil Ivey, he's like, no, I don't want to do it. He's like, Daniel will do it. He likes that shit. He'll go do it. I was like, he didn't want nothing to do with it. So you're right, Terrence, in that like, it's easy to judge from our perch, like what it's like to live like him. Like, oh yeah, poor you making millions of dollars and winning NBA championships. But like, think about everywhere he goes, he has no access to just being, to himself.
The one where he's in like the hotel room and he just can't leave the hotel room because he can't be bothered. Like imagine like, these guys are in Barcelona for the first time. I'm sure they would love to just be tourists in Barcelona. Not going to happen.
No chance. That's why he loves the golf course so much, right? Because it's isolated. People can't come and bother you.
I was always surprised he did the one where he walks in on his wife getting having sex with somebody else, and he plays it totally cool, like that Full Tilt commercial. I was like, wow, that just seems so out of character for Ivy to do that one.
That one was funny.
It was good. It was really good.
That was pretty funny.
All right, let's move on quickly to we've got a bunch of email to get to. We're going to get caught up. and a couple
That's
quick
a lie.
topics to hit on. No, we do, because there's not a lot else to talk about this week.
So here's the thing: we got to share this with the people. Adam writes this big show doc, right, for us for when we do the show, and Adam's always worried. He's like, "Oh my god, we're not going to have anything to talk about for the
There's
whole
not 25 Black Fridays this week. What are we going to talk about?
an hour and a half in, and we're like, emails. Yep, okay, we'll try those next week.
All right, so we're going to get there today. Catching up with the Galfond Challenge. He has currently 3 of them going on right now, 2 or 3 of them. One with ActionFreak that has been pretty steady with the hands that they're getting in. They played a bunch of hands today. ActionFreak wins 250,000, so he brought the deficit down to about 200,000. Phil's still up about 200K.
Daniel's 100 to 1 is looking good.
Daniel, yeah,
And they're playing like 2
got
or 400, right? So that's like essentially they're tied.
Yeah, they are tied, a statistical tie. So they've played 6,500 hands of 15,000 challenge. So they're getting close to halfway through. And again, Phil up about 200,000. They're playing 150-300. So that's a decent day for one person. So it could go either way there. I don't think there was any Bill Perkins sessions played this week. Still Bill, on his yacht doing the Thirst Lounge thing, enjoying life. But they will continue that sporadically. And Jungle Man, Dan Cates and Phil, they're itching to get at their challenge. Phil's got to complete the ActionFreak one first, but they did a mini challenge. They did a one-day challenge when ActionFreak had a day off. It was for 750 hands, and the loser had to do a video about how great of a person and poker player the other one was. So Phil ends up taking that one down, and Jungle, if you go to his Instagram feed, the video's there. It's worth watching. It's pretty funny in Dan Cates fashion. Did either of you guys watch any of the hands from the Jungle? It was really good because Jungle and Phil were streaming, so you could, and they had a split stream where you could watch both at the same time on the screen. And Jungle was doing it with cards up, and Phil would occasionally show his cards, but so you're watching a hand in real time with both sides of it, and it was really cool because you watch the bluffs go through and everything. Did you guys catch any of it?
How did they do it in real time? You're talking about just a delay, but like a short delay, right?
Correct. Yeah.
I didn't get to see it, but that is really cool. And I think I saw a tweet from Phil that they're going to plan to do more of that stuff when they do the real challenge, right?
It was great. If you get a chance, maybe hunt that down and find it on YouTube because
I just want to watch the video really, because I mean, if you're gonna make that the stakes, like clearly you want Phil to be the winner and Jungle Man to have to do the video. Like the optimal result is that, right?
He did not disappoint at all. So if you want to check that out, but we haven't talked a ton of coronavirus stuff. We've kind of stayed away from it because it ends up getting political, and
we had
probably
3 episodes that all had coronavirus in the title.
Well, sure, we talked about some things, but we didn't do an entire show on it or anything. So just quickly update: King's Casino, I noticed in Rosvedov, has opened back up after being closed for 2 months. Poker cash games are included in this opening. Everybody's wearing sort of masks, etc. No tournaments as of yet. So, opening up over there. Nevada and Las Vegas, Daniel, you'll know more about this than we do. Apparently, on Saturday, I believe, there was some restrictions lifted where barbershops and nail salons and restaurants open up with a bunch of restrictions. Wynn Las Vegas has told employees that they're going to be opening up May 26th. So we'll see how that goes. Daniel, have you noticed anything there in Vegas? What's happening?
Yeah, so obviously, I watched live when Governor Sisolak, sort of discussed phase 1, right? Because Nevada, as I've mentioned, we've done really, really well with social distancing, and people are staying at home. So, it's time to see what happens if you start to open up the economy slowly but surely. So he did the golf courses even before, so they're open. Gyms are still closed, casinos are still closed, movie theaters. Concerts, bars, like restaurants can open with very specific parameters. Restaurants, if it's a bar that serves food, you can do that, but not in the bar area. The bar area must be completely closed. 1/3 of the restaurant capacity, so you can't fill it. You got to keep people separate. It's by appointment only. You can go to the restaurants, and then you wait for your reservation outside. Similar for barbershops, salons, nail places, all that kind of stuff. And I actually tweeted about this because I don't get like, so it's really all the employees have to wear a mask, and they recommend that you going into the restaurant also wear a mask, right? So when you think of atmosphere and going to a nice restaurant, which, you know, is fun for a lot of people, this doesn't feel like it to me. So I wonder, like, is that even like, this is like that is not a necessary business clearly, but like, why not just do takeout or, you know, delivery? And like, if you want to do takeout and have an ambience, go to the park, or, you know, or just go somewhere and do like a little picnic or something. Because for me, I couldn't imagine being around 4 people and, you know, like the waiter coming with a freaking mask on and there's all this extra stuff. It just doesn't, I guess for a lot of people, they're looking for normalcy, because that's what a lot of people in my Twitter feed said. They just want to be able to do the things that they've always done. But this one seems like one that could wait, in terms of all restaurants should be open, you know, do curbside pickup as we were doing before. I don't know.
I'm kind of down with my waiter wearing a mask now that I think about it. You know, there's no chance of spit getting in your food.
Well, that's not a terrible thing. And listen, speaking of, I think we're going to be wearing masks as a society in public for at least the next year, maybe 2. I really do. I think it's going to become part of the norm. Like
I hope so. It's a hot button thing with Americans. Americans really don't like masks. It's
kitchen workers already wear hairnets, right?
Yeah.
They wear because they don't want to get that in a food bowl.
I don't know, but it's against my constitutional rights to do whatever I want. It's a thing. You know, Adam mentioned King's Casino in Rozvadov, and Czech Republic, Czechia, is like one of the countries where they really adopted masks. Like one of the few European countries where they were just all up on masks right away. And I think, you have to wear a mask to get in. I think you have to wear a mask to get in everywhere in Czech Republic these days, and you just and their numbers are very good. But I think there is real American aversion to masks, and it's a really hard cultural thing to overcome. You know, I joke about this sort of, you know, America, we don't do this stuff, but there is a lot of that attitude resonating on the internet. Like Costco made masks mandatory, and there was massive backlash about this in the United States, and I don't understand why. Like these are you know, if your take on this is, you know, it's America and I get to do whatever I want, like, yeah, and it's a private business, so they get to do whatever they want too. So if that means they gotta wear a mask, that's how it is. I agree. Restaurants, it feels real like if you're a customer in a restaurant, you're wearing a mask. That's weird. That feels a little weird. Like at least just take it outside, as you mentioned. I mean, obviously, like Las Vegas, July, outside's not that pleasant. But yeah, like I would like, you know, Timex mentioned this too, like that he thought masks would be the new normal in Western society, the way they are in Asian society. I don't know like how I can bet against that, but I'm kind of willing to bet against that, like you know, mask prevalence in the United States. Like obviously there's no way to really bet against it, but I would bet against it.
Yeah, I mean in Vancouver, Terrence, you'll know that it's probably since the bird flu, there's a small amount of people that do wear masks all the time. Like you
almost
you go
always
around,
Asian people though.
Yeah, sure, but I mean at least what I'm saying is it's the foothold is there. Like
Yeah.
people will understand it. People haven't. Like
And I think Canadians are a little different too. Like we don't have the sort of super like the mentality that like literally doing anything is an infringement on our rights.
The Tea Party people that are saying like murder Bill Gates or put him in prison, they have signs up in America that say we need haircuts. Like,
Yeah.
like of all things you protest that are like super important, we need haircuts. Get a pair of scissors, give it a shot. You know?
Get the clippers out. Well, online poker is cruising along quite nicely. You know, Scoop is on at Poker Stars. We don't generally dive into, you know, all the different results and stuff from that, but GG Poker, obviously, we've talked about it week after week, and the upsurge that GG's taken has been nothing short of miraculous. And the World Series of Poker circuit events are underway there, as well as the poker stream. What's going on over there, Daniel?
Okay, so I don't even know if I would call it miraculous. I think the ascension as quickly as it's happened, like when I'm looking at PokerStars and I'm seeing like GG by far #1 in terms of players online, like for that to happen so fast is like really good news for me. I was super happy to see it, but it's not surprising to me when people actually play GG Poker. And as compared to some of the other software that is, you know, outdated, for lack of a better term, compared to GG. Like GG just has the most fun, best software. Whether it's rabbit hunting, whether it's squeezing the river, whether it's at the final tables, the way in which we do final tables, which you've probably never seen before, but what happens is
wow, sick
no,
burn.
I mean the one no,
Adam, the final table is the thing that if you make it really far in a tournament, they actually take all the tables and the guys who still have chips.
Okay.
They all sit at one table, and the winner of the person who gets all the chips at the end, that guy's the winner of the poker tournament.
Do you have to play tournaments to actually make a final table?
No. Right. So I want to get to how this works, right? So the final table is what happens for a lot of them. Well, for all, basically all of them. There's no longer like, you know how it says like 15 minutes per level or whatever? At the final table, there is no time limit. It's by number of hands.
Oh, thank God.
So round 10, 30 hands, okay? Now, every player at the table has their own personal shot clock. So let's say you start, and it all depends on, the flow of the tournament, how much time is expected to take based on the structure, and everyone will get their own. For a lot of them, if you had time saved up that you didn't use from your time bank early, you also get that extra time. So it incentivizes you on the bubble to not just like stall, right? If you run out of your time bank, much like in chess, or the one difference from chess, in chess you just lose. But here you basically have to make your decisions instantly if you run out of time.
I saw a guy get, when I was watching you stream, great job on the stream, by the way. I thought you and Stapes, and I don't know who the third guy was, but he was really good too.
States.
What's that?
He knows what I'm talking about.
No, but I saw a guy, I guess he'd used up all his time bank, and he lost his internet connection. He gets queens folded in the big blind, and it's just like, oh, God. That's like, we've all been there watching like a big hand get folded. So that's the downside of it. But I love the idea of fixed hands at a final table. I wish live poker would do this, to be honest. Like, tournament directors would hate it, but live poker would be fantastic.
The other thing I want to touch on, too, that's unique about the way they do final tables is, and it's all about like extra fun and animosity and kind of rivalry and stuff. The way they do it is if you're the short stack, right, you go first. You pick a seat that you want to sit in. So you're like, all right, you're like, I want to be over here. The next shortest stack, now he picks which seat he wants to switch.
Wow, that's awesome.
It continues all the way to the chip leader who gets to pick his last seat, right? So there's a whole bunch of like metagaming and like, I want to be on his left, I want to be on this player's right. Yeah. A bit more fun and color, and everything about the site is designed for that, like just for extra.
Okay, hang on. Let me ask you if going last is the biggest advantage, or is going like 7th or 8th? Like, where's the biggest?
Is you switch the seat, so you.
Oh, I see. Gotcha.
Right, yeah. It's like a dance, basically.
Nice.
So definitely going last is advantageous.
Yeah.
So as you mentioned, like we're right now in the midst of May, which is the 100 million guarantee. WSOP circuit events, which I'm super proud to be associated with. And like, that's a lot of money, 100 million. So I'm like, man, I don't know. That's a lot of money to have guaranteed. We've been crushing it. The GG guarantees have been smashing at the high, middle, and low levels. Like, if you look at the lobby and I sit there with like, I salivate. I'm like, oh my God. Another 5K? So like,
well, you could. I mean, so you still hold a Canadian passport. You could technically fly home, quarantine yourself.
Yeah.
So there's like a 5K every couple hours. It gets like 40 or 50 people, and they're pretty fast paced. There's a lot of all-ins after and it's a very lengthy re-entry period for a lot of the tournament. And so there's like always something going around the clock. And if you're on like the Asian calendar, they have a special like, APT events, which would be around midnight or 1 a.m. my time. So like a really robust schedule in addition to the rings. And I kind of think the phase thing, and I never really understood it all that much before, this Colossus kind of thing, I think it's really cool. Where you have like freaking 50-day ones, okay? And then those people all, just play on a day 2 on a Sunday for a massive prize pool. Like, it's not how I would want to have all tournaments, but I think having a few of those with that, like our $500 buy-in event we just had, $500 buy-in, the one that we streamed last night, 2 million guarantee on a 5 million, on a $500 buy-in. We got 3.5 million in that prize pool from all doing, heat after heat. And so last night was a lot of fun because last night I got to spend 4 hours with Stapes and Jesse, and we did what no other company is doing, which is we did live commentary of the actual ring event with hole cards up on a 1 hour delay, right? Because they have the software that they're able to do that, where they can turn it up face up. So it's really a lot of fun. States is always fun. We're very. I said I was going to go for it, and we did. We had some very inappropriate, out of line fun. But we also definitely focused on the poker. And there was some really interesting hands. Like when you're in it, you're watching it, like I felt, intensely like whatever connected to it. There's like one hand in particular, and I was, against this guy, Jesse, the other commentator, I was like, there's no way he's going to call. And then we were trying to make side bets, like where it was like Jack 7-8, turn was a 10, river was a king. And then the guy bombed the river, and the guy called with 7-8, bottom 2. And I didn't think he would call, whatever. But anyway, just like seeing some of the laydown, seeing some of the folds, like when you get to see it in real time, it's so fun. It's like watching a live stream, but it's a lot faster paced, right? Because there's no tanking, except for the river. Because the other thing I didn't tell you with GG, this is just the total like extra boom boom. When you're all in, say I'm against Terrence and I've got like king queen and he's got 10s. So the river card is on its back. It pauses. I get to peel it. So I go to the thing, peel the corner, look at it like this, blam, and then I can turn it over.
Hate it.
You hate it because it hurts your. It causes pain.
Yeah, I would leave the room.
See the spots on the side of the card, though. I wish I could see if it's like a 3-spotter.
Yeah, and the other thing too that like it actually does, I would imagine. We talked about this last night on the stream, but like the fact that you can rabbit hunt creates a little bit of a strategic difference in terms of like, very small, right? But like normally you move in on the turn on a guy and he has a draw. He's like, I want to see that river card. And the only way to do it is to pay, right? But if he knows he can fold and still see what the river was, and then either have the joy of, yes, I would have missed, or the agony of like, I knew it, I should have called. Like that extra, it's just extra needling and extra emotional turmoil, I think is just really good for, a fun environment.
I played the 1K last week. I think we mentioned this on the show, the 1K COVID relief tournament on GG Poker. And there was just some hand where I bombed it 3 times with 8 high. And then the guy like tank folded the river. And then the show the bluff button shows up for what's probably like 2 seconds, but feels like 30. And I was like hovering my mouse over it like, oh, that is done. I need to show this bluff. Can't not.
People do that a lot. Where it's like they move in on a guy and they show him a 5.
Yeah. I could have showed him 1. I mean, yeah.
With my face on him. One of them's like, you suck.
Yeah. Popular one.
I didn't get to use a Daniel emoji. Yeah. That's
you can also show your hands that you folded pre-flop after the hand. So whenever you could show if you like flopped quads, people do it all the time.
They should add a thing in the cash games where if you, let's say you bet and the guy folds, the guy can buy to see your hand for like $5 or some small amount of money. That'd be good.
Yeah, and like what Ross says, like everybody loves doing that. Like, oh my god, I would have flopped trips. This stupid thing. I was super tilted. I made the final 2 tables of the W Coot limit hold'em, and there was it's limit hold'em hand, so I don't remember what the fuck happens. But I remember it was like a 3-bet pot. Or I called 4-bet and the original razor folded, and then it came like 7-7 blank something, and then I checked to the guy in the river, and the guy who folded pre-flop says LOL, and then the guy like tank bets and like thin value bets me because he knows that it's just like, oh, that's just so inappropriate for you to say LOL when the other guy's thinking about making a value bet.
We're not going to get to any mail, are we?
I'm glad you're figuring this out, Adam.
All right, let's get on to some news, Roscoe.
All right.
What in the world is going on?
I don't think it's good for the poker.
Yay, poker. Hashtag good for poker.
So not a lot in the news category this week, but Patrick Leonard, he is an ambassador for Party Poker and a owner of a large stable, great player in his own right. He took to Twitter, I believe it was today, and he was talking about the state of online poker. And yes, we're in sort of this boom area right now. How big it is, how long it's going to last, who knows. But he took to Twitter and he was very concerned and painted sort of this dark future for online poker from what he sees. So without going through it, I mean, it's a series of many tweets, but he starts off with this COVID, in quotes, opportunity could have given us the chance for a mini online poker boom, but instead, in his opinion, it's going to be a long-term disaster now. Previously very popular tournaments that initially surged are now overlaying. Example, $530 Stars Marathon, really fun tournament, used to get 200 plus runners in February. During COVID, you think it would get bigger? Well, yesterday, $100,000 overlay by 40 plus players, even with a last minute surge. Money is running out quickly. Stables who have lower ROIs will go broke at this time. Variance is so high and field sizes become tough when you get unlimited reentries. I consulted Party Poker and suggested we remove as many games as possible and focus on quality. Or the past week or so, people are PMing and complaining. So, I'm not going to go on and read everything, but I guess a couple of things strike me. First is, should we feel sorry for stables of poker players that, stables are going to have a problem? I don't know. It's a valid question. Who are we concerned about here? Pointing out sort of this one-off tournament as far as the Poker Stars tournament that he's talking about. I think that it seems to me, and I want to get your guys' reaction, but it seems to me that the places where people play online poker is changing. For example, the huge increase in GG poker for all the reasons that we've talked about. Because maybe people are moving away from that and playing in different tournaments rather than the one he's talking about or some of the other ones that he's talking about. How concerned should we be? So Daniel, why don't you go first?
So I want to actually read one of the tweets that I sort of thought was kind of funny and ironic from Scott Blumstein, World Series of Poker champion, because he read this piece and he replied and he said, "Let me get this straight. There's a zero-sum game that has turned into a re-entry-driven money grab that you built a network of people to purposely try and obliterate, and now you're upset because there's no more money for you to take because we're in a global financial crisis." So essentially what he's alluding to is, Plino Plads has a stable, right? So he's got a bunch of professionals that he puts in all these tournaments, and they essentially take money out of the system, right? They all make money off people. So, it's kind of a weird place to stand in that, you're worried about the future of online poker, but having these stables, helps make the decay happen faster, right? The more professionals playing, the faster, other people go broke. The other big point I think Scott brings up too is we are going to be the economies across the globe with this thing are going to be hurt, right? Well, that's going to hurt poker, right? That's going to hurt poker whether we have re-entry events or not, whether we have freeze outs, whether we have less tournaments, more tournaments. Poker's always had sort of an up and a down. And I would imagine that, when we go back to living as normal, whenever that is, that, people will go outside more. So maybe online poker will see a little bit of a dip, but it'll come back and it'll go back. And so this whole surge, and I get what he's saying, it's not sustainable. Yeah, probably not, right? Like the amount of traffic we're seeing for online poker right now is way bigger than expected because people are home, right? People are home and they need things to do. And in addition to that, most importantly, all the sports betting money that would be spent on, there's no sports to bet. So people are, using a lot of their disposable income. So we'll have an issue with poker in terms of it seeing, its ebbs and flows. But as far as not having guarantees and things like that, listen, they'll just adjust, right? If sites continue to miss guarantees in a big way, well, that's okay. Then the game, guarantees may get smaller. Or in GG's, the way they do things, they just make the guarantee bigger, which is crazy, like they did with the GG Masters this week, which actually had almost 4,000, our biggest number, 3,900 for the GG Masters 150 freeze out. But I understand what he's saying. I don't know that that it's I don't know that we're specifically doing things that are causing anything that isn't inevitable anyway. Right? I think people just choose to. So if what he's saying is some tournaments that were favorites, there's other ones that are being promoted more heavily right now and different sites, and there's more to play. So that's maybe being spread around a little more. If sites are losing money towards missing guarantees, then they just need to do, some analysis and make sure that, that they're not overextending themselves. I don't know.
Yeah, this is not a new problem in the poker industry, really. It's slightly different because of the situation we find ourselves in, but it's, The problem has always been the poker operators are going to try to extract as much money as they can out of the system, but they can't extract too much, otherwise everybody goes broke. And if it becomes unprofitable for people to play, then you dry up the games. And Blumstein makes a very valid point about the fact that poker stables enable that to some degree by placing by allowing really good players the financial liquidity to play even more times, which in turns makes the field even tougher, which makes it even harder for recreational players to win, and that cycles through. And then at the end of the day, eventually all you have is a bunch of pros trying to pick off one another. There's not really it's a problem, but it's not a problem that can be solved easily, because there's only a few things that can happen. Now, Patrick Leonard in his tweet storm, like he suggested the idea of a union, and they all have reps on each poker site and stuff like that. I don't know how really viable that is, because what I keep coming back to is cartels kind of always fail. Like, we know this in economics. Anytime you have a bunch of producers of a good who would all make money by increasing production, which is essentially what we're talking about with the supply of poker tournaments, is production, or even reentries, right? There's always an incentive for somebody to deviate or to break away from the agreement. And like, I don't know, like, competition is it's not perfect in the circumstance, but it's probably the healthiest way that we can deal with this, by just having different sites challenge the status quo. Like, it's always gonna work, right? Like, Stars was the player friendly option for so many years. It was the good guy, and then it took over number one, and it got all this popularity. And then they became public, and they weren't such good guys anymore, and people started going away to party, and they became good guys. Now people are going to GG because they like the software and they like the things that they're doing. If we're in a constant state of flux over the dominant poker site, that's kind of maybe the best we can really hope for. I don't know that there's a real better solution. I don't know that you're ever going to get the heads of the top 15 poker sites to all agree, like, hey, let's all kind of manage the ecosystem and manage the economy in a way that allows poker to, especially tournament poker, where you're always siphoning lots of people's money into just a few people's money. It's a really hard thing to do, to manage that in such a way that the ecosystem doesn't dry up. And sites like GG Poker and Stars back in the days, they were not even trying to do that. They're just trying to, how can we bring more money into the player pool? Like, how can we get the casuals, and how can we reward the casuals and try to keep them in the ecosystem as long as possible, with the understanding that pros are just going to beat recreational players. It's the nature of the game, and if you don't bring new money in, you're dead.
So here's the way I see it, right? You kind of have two sides of the coin. So in one sense, you want to give the customers what they want, right? They love these types of events, these like multi-day re-entry kind of. The customers love these events, right? So on one side, that's what the customers want. On the other side, the organizers obviously make a lot of money from these things. Then ask themselves, like, okay, I know that's what you want, but that's not what's good for you, right? That's kind of a harder sell. It's like, guys, I know you want to play these things and you want more of these, but it's bad for you. Like, you kind of have to let competition decide.
The drug dealer doesn't stand there on the corner going, you know what, maybe you should only take 10 milligrams today. Like, you just like, here it is, bud. Like, enjoy.
Put it out there, and here's the bottom line, right? People vote with their feet. You know, it's been great to see the GG Masters flourish, and so many people do enjoy the freeze-out format. But we also see just an abundance of people who really like that big carrot at the top. When they see $500 buy-in, $2 million guarantee, or our main event, for example, is a $1K buy-in, $5 million guarantee. People see that, it's exciting to them, brings them in, and that's what everybody's trying to do. Everyone's trying to market, you know, their product in such a way that says, we've got something special and we're putting our money where our mouth is, right? And again, as I said, if guarantees start to falter and people aren't meeting them, you know, that's actually really good for the customers in the short term. Obviously, in the long term, it would require them to lower them across the board for the most part. But I don't see any sort of like, I don't see this like any like, you know, imminent urgent threat that we need to do something right now to eliminate these things. And frankly, even if we did, they're not going anywhere, right? Because ultimately, like what I said, the customer's right. This is what the customers want. Give them more of what they want. You can't really stop it now, I don't think.
But aren't stables also responsible for putting a bunch of players in tournaments, both live and online, and creating that big thing for the recreational player to go after? Does it hurt them? And they probably don't know how bad it is for them for these stables, but they still have that big first prize pool that they look at to try and take a shot at.
Yeah, these stables, right? Obviously, you know, these stables are overall, like, they're good for, when it comes to like helping guarantees get met. The stables are great because they fire in bullets, you know, and they add to your player. But what they're really bad for is extending the losing player's dollar longer, because they lose much faster when they're playing against all these pros. So they're taking money out. And ultimately, you know, if you do start to see the losing players no longer playing, then these stables all get hurt with their bottom line, because they're not going to be making as much money, as Terrence pointed out, when when the games are not as good. That's kind of just poker.
You could sort of say like, oh, should have all the leaders of the stables get together and say we're going to limit the number of rebuys that we're going to put in the Sunday Million this week, guys. But again, that's not going to happen. Like that's just shooting yourself in the foot.
Stables, right? But when I have 30 guys who says, okay, we're going to all send all my guys in max late reg this tournament because it's plus EV to do so or whatever, like you got your 30, another guy's got his 40 or whatever. Stables are going to be a thing. They're not going nowhere, and neither are these guarantees. And I mean, what are they going to boycott them? If they boycotted, say for example, like a stable, like 10 stables of all these people like boycotted, that would just be better for the players who stayed, and for any of the pros to go, great, now I don't have to face all the Sharpies. I can play against a much softer field.
Yeah.
So you're saying if you could wave your hand and get rid of all the stables, both live and online, that would be a net positive?
I don't think so. No. So I think the stables add value. Okay, because one thing we know is that in order to really entice a lot of players, they want to see a big prize pool, right? Part of that big prize pool is all the professionals trying to vie for it. A lot of times for even starting tournaments that have late reg, right? Some of them, a lot of people don't reg on time. Pros will a lot of the time because they want to build up a stack. So just getting the thing off the ground. There is an absolute value in these what do you call them? Cartels or no, the
Stables.
The stables and stuff. There is value to them. There is, of course, a balance, right? Because when you have far too many of them and they represent the vast majority of players in an event, then, well, they're all going to dissipate because they're not going to make enough money to sustain themselves after the break.
All right, let's get on some tweets.
You're going surfing on the internet.
Aaron Lewis writes in, is Timex really as arrogant as he comes across every time I've heard him speak? Geez, I mean, Terrence, you probably, and Danny, you guys know Timex a little better than I do, but I know him a little bit, and I think that's just his way. I don't think he's arrogant. He's just
I think he's just a straight
Timex
shooter. I would name a lot of poker players arrogant before him.
I don't think he's arrogant at all. He's very direct. He's very blunt. He's very honest. He's very straight. He's also very confident. And he also, questions things. He'll say things that he believes are true. And he usually will also back it with his money, right? Yeah. He says something like he's the one that originally put out the line on whether or not there would be a World Series of Poker at 12-1. And everyone was mocking him and laughing at him. He's like, I'll put my money where my mouth is to let you guys know how serious it is.
I'll say that does come off. Daniel brings a good point because I think that does come off to a lot. It shouldn't in the gambling world, but it comes off to a lot of people as arrogant. Like, oh, you don't agree with me? I'll bet you. Like among the four of us, I don't think there'd be any animosity because we live in this world. Daniel's like, oh, Veni Viti's drawing totally dead. There's no way he could win this. There's no way he could win this challenge. And so I'll say, okay, let's have a bet. I mean, like that's the thing. Like you should never be offended by this stuff. But I think a lot of people in the quote unquote regular world is, and if you haven't like lived and breathed.
He's not a guy that's boastful. He's not a guy who's braggadocious.
Yeah,
he's not from it. He's very even keel. He's a good old Canadian boy. He just has very strong opinions about things and shares them, but they don't come from he doesn't have the Dunner-Kruger effect, I don't think. For those that don't know what the hell that is, that basically, the type of personality or persona where you think you're you just know a lot, you know everything about everything, or you're better than average at everything, or just intuitively know stuff. I don't think he's that. I think he questions every conclusion. Extensively.
And that's how you become a successful gambler at the end of the day. And he is one of the more successful gamblers of the youngest generations is you're willing to challenge your assumptions and to know when you're wrong, but you're also willing to put your money where your mouth is, and you're better at assessing things of the future. But I think that does come across as arrogant. I don't think it's arrogant in the slightest. It's gotten me in trouble in my home relationships when I'm willing to gamble on things with my girlfriends that arguably maybe I shouldn't gamble on, but just hey, who wants to do dishes? You want to lay me 20-1? How about we do 20-1 on dishes? You get in trouble in the real world with that, but in the context of gambling, I don't see it as arrogant at all to be just willing to bet on something if you believe in it.
I do remember you and I in Macau, Terrence, and Ross too, when we were supposed to I think we were meeting Timex for dinner. We invited him, and then we started taking bets on, is he actually going to show, even though he said he was going to be there.
That's true, and he did ghost us.
And he ghosted us. All right, our boy at Bobby Winger Daniel, could you let the listeners know that last night on Twitch, you made it official that I'm his #1 fan. But the interesting part of this tweet is, and I vote for episode 100, you boys get Ivey on. Now, Terrence, do you have Ivey's number? I'll just check my phone. I don't think I have it. Ross, is there one of us here that maybe could get in contact with Ivey and maybe bring him on for the 100th episode?
All right. What episode number are we on right now?
73.
So that would be in about 3. That's possible. That's enough.
Like the end of the year.
Yeah, that's enough.
The more interesting bet is, will we be able to get him to talk about any Crockford Borgata stuff?
That'll be tough, right? Because it's hard for him to talk about those things if you know how it is. Lawyers tell you don't say anything because it can be a case. So
we could do 2 hours with him without anything.
Yeah. What else? What else is there to talk about?
Yeah.
Well, there's so much going on in Ivey's life that people know that I do.
I'm kidding.
I share because that's not what a friend does. But no, I would love to have him on. He's, again, the other thing too, and watching the Jordan stuff is like, Jordan has a charm about him, and Jordan, a sense of humor and all that vibe about him that I see in Phil Ivey that many people don't. Everyone thinks of Ivey as this boring kind of rock. I'm like, you don't know Phil Ivey. He's freaking hilarious. Especially gambling with him and stuff. My God, seeing us on the golf course, man, in 2020, they would cancel us both. Cancel culture would just be like, both can't ever. Nope, you're both fired from your own. You're both, even though you don't have jobs, you're both fired because of the shit we say to each other. We go at it. We have fun.
All right, let's get on to some mail.
All right.
Email number
1. I'm going to pick a random voicemail out of the bag here.
Random. Let's go random.
Hey, DAT Gang. This is Andy from beautiful Boise, Idaho. Love the show. Missing NHL playoffs and real poker. Guess I'm like Daniel. So one other question, if we're ever playing full seated games again, ever. So besides all the other things that need to change, can I ask one other question about a pet peeve of mine? Is it time to get rid of the felt? It's bad enough now that everyone leans on it and sweats on it, and then a drink gets spilled and we wipe it up and continue on our merry way. I know it's part of our vocabulary and the culture and the history of the games, but is it time to get rid of the felt and move to something like a stainless steel or some sort of laminate top that can't hold anything? Wonder what your thoughts are. Thanks.
I think steel is worse, right? Metal is worse because
Well, there's a reason we have felt. It's because you need to be able to pick up the cards quite easily, and with felt, it gives you a little bit of a buffer.
He said felt. I thought he was talking about like the rail outside the felt, though.
Oh, I think he meant the table.
No, I thought the green felt. Yeah, but Adam might be the only one who gets this. But maybe we should put blue turf on the tables.
Oh, Boise, Idaho. Yeah, that's right. I got it.
The Smurf turf.
Anyway, question. Like we sort of kind of answered it in the open. I mean, you just mentioned Kings is open again. So we're going to be playing, and it's not going to be like, Vegas started this stupid thing where we talked about it on a previous show, where it's like, oh, poker four-handed, craps 6, I don't know, slots 2, I don't know, just throwing numbers at a dartboard. But I think poker will be back in full-fledged. It's going to take a while before people are comfortable not wearing masks out in public. So you might see poker being played with masks or gloves or whatever. But
let me ask you this, Daniel, because you've always been an opponent of people covering their face at the table. Let's say we have a World Series of Poker in November. Is it cool if people wear masks, if you've got 9 masks at the table now?
Listen, it's all about personal safety at this point, right?
Yeah.
For a lot, it's not just personal safety, but it's also courtesy. Like you talked a little bit about Asian culture and how they wear masks a lot anyway. John Juan is an example of that. Like for years, I remember back in 2012 or 13, WSOP Europe tournament, he was wearing a mask, not because he was worried about getting sick, but he had a cold. So he was just being courteous and he didn't want to get other people sick, so he wore the mask. So I think masks are going to be, as much as, Terrence talked about America and how we have an aversion to that, that's true. But I do think that it's starting to seep in that, for us to go back to normalcy, that's just going to include some steps. Some social distancing steps, one of those including, the wearing of masks.
Yeah. I've noticed that Europeans are worse than Americans. I live with a British guy and his other British friends. They're very anti-mask.
There you go. All right. Next email.
Email number 2.
Hey, DAT Poker Pod. This is Scott in Tempe, Arizona. Hey, I sent you guys a tweet with a scenario that came up in our weekly game. There's 8 of us that played. Not enough characters to really be that detailed. So we listen to the pod while we're playing all the time. And the question came up is, would any of us take on any of you? And what odds would we want if we were playing you guys straight up? Or what would even it up? And somebody said, well, if they exposed a card, I'd play them straight up. And then, the conversation started, well, they wouldn't play straight up if they had to expose a card. So the scenario was one of us hacks against one of you pros. You guys have to expose the second card dealt. It's a best 2 out of 3. Blind start at 25.50 and go up every 20 minutes. What odds would you guys want to take on one of us heads up? That was the bet, and that's how it came about. Love the pod. Hope you guys could answer that because we have a bet going on that. Thank you, guys.
Great question.
Oh, they have a bet, so I guess we have to answer this straight up.
I want to first ask if I can stall 20 minutes till the next blind.
That's the first thing. You don't want to set that one by time.
Well, yeah, they left out a couple key details in terms of how many big blinds are we starting with, right?
Let's call it 100. Let's call it 100.
So
100 big blinds, 20-minute levels.
So that's like a real tournament now. Because I was thinking if it's 10 bigs, I don't really care that much. We can get it in. I'll take 2 to 1, whatever. But you can't. So to answer the simplest form of the question is no. I would never play a hack or a hack.
What if it was 8-card PLO?
There you go.
Yeah, right? I was thinking like triple draw would be okay. Like here I have a deuce.
Okay. But if so first and foremost, no. We definitely need odds. Let's say, for the sake of what you said, make it a 100 big blind start.
2 or 3. He said best 2 or 3, and they're actually betting money on this, so we need to kind of give them an answer.
I would, and I'm showing one card. That's so hard. I think I would really need like between 3 and 4 to 1.
Yeah, I was at 5.
Oh, I was even nittier. I said I was thinking like between 6 and 8 because, like, if we're not assuming we're not stalling and we're trying to play in the spirit of things, like you kind of have to just fold almost like you just have to fold like crazy in the first 2 levels. Like you have to kind of survive to the 25 BB, like the 30 to 25 BB level before you can have a shot against anybody who knows what they're doing at all.
Here's
so
the
like,
thing, though. You don't need more than 4 or 5 to 1 really, because like if you get say 5 to 1, right, or 10 to 1, you can go all in every single hand.
Right. No, but I understand that. But in the first level, if we're 100 big blinds deep,
you're offering such a huge price every time you shove, right?
Yeah. So you're gonna have to just play really tight and just fold a lot, and so you're gonna get blinded down. And so by the time you get to say 25 BB poker, you're probably already at like a 3 to 1 chip deficit.
Yeah, but I don't think you have to do. Let's say, for example, if you're getting extreme 10 to 1, right? That means that you get it. You go all in pre-flop, right? All you need is 10% equity on that first hand. 10%, and 10% is
true.
So I could have any 2, and you could call me with aces. I still beat you theoretically.
Right, but if you go all in and you show a jack and the guy has pocket queens, then you're in a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
Well,
it's going to be on the margins, right? He's going to
be like
money.
a 6 to 1. You're going to be like a 6 to 1 dog.
But in the meantime, instead of what you said, which you'd be at the 3 to 1 deficit, you're going to be winning every hand, right? So like how I would approach to do this, I'm all in. I'm all in. When you get aces, kings, or queens, which is hard to do, it takes like more than 20 hands typically. So let's say you have to wait. In the meantime, I'm chopping away at you.
That's true. You're probably right. It's probably close.
So what? You call me with queens and you see my jack. My other card could be a king or an ace, and now you're making a bad call anyway.
Yeah.
Because queens against king jack, if you're laying 10 to 1, you don't like it. So that's why I said probably in the neighborhood of 4 to 1 because of the fact that it's a weapon I could use.
You're right. Except now that you've ruined it, they're not going to accept our prop anymore. I was going to go down there and hustle these guys.
Nice.
Ruined it.
Email number 3.
Hey guys, Rupert Pupkin calling again. I was wondering, while watching High Stakes Poker, I believe season 5, Barry Greenstein mentions that he doesn't check raise people or try to outplay people on TV because they're friends. Just wondering if that really occurs when you're playing on TV, or if there's any other things that you play differently while playing on TV, whether it is to not share kind of your strategy with people or just not to embarrass someone is kind of what he was inferring there, I believe. Anyway, just keep up the good work, guys. Bye.
Trolling, right?
I can speak as somebody who has played a lot against Barry Greenstein. The reason he doesn't check raise anybody is because his C-bet percentage is 100. He never checks.
Establish that. Yeah.
He just always bets every flop. Ace, king of hearts, 7 callers. What's the flop? 7, 8, 9 of spades? Let's give it a shot. He's just like a C-betting machine. And I don't buy for a second that he doesn't check raise his friends or whatever. That seems a little...
You know what I love about back in the day with the television was watching Lack and Antonio go after each other. Those guys were their best buddies. They would check raise them and show them air nonsense. Like they would do anything to beat each other in a pot and be friends as soon as they walk away from the table. And, you know, I'm not sure that happens in practice, like when the TV cameras aren't there, not for them, but for other people. Like if Terrence and I were in the same pot back in the day, I'm just generally staying out of the way. I mean, it was different age back then because Terrence would be one of the only better.
I was going to say we're playing against 6 really bad players.
Yeah, like we did it. It would have been Terrence or another good player. I would have stayed out of his way, but I wouldn't go out of my way to check raise Terrence because I know he'd fold in a certain spot. Because, you know, obviously there's a better spots for my money. But I guess my question more is for Daniel is, you know, do you play against, like, let's say you're playing against Jen Harmon. I know you're close to Jen. Would you go out of your way to try and get her to lay down hands and do stuff like that?
But you got to play. You got to play hard. Like I remember before that, like I do feel bad when I beat Jennifer. Like on a high stakes poker, there's one spot where I think we ran it twice and I won both, and I actually genuinely felt bad. But I take it a step further. And while you were mentioning, I was thinking of her name. I was thinking of Evelyn, who we were dating, you know, as teenagers. And like, you know, I told, like at the beginning, she didn't really want to bet against me. And I was like, we got to just play normal because it's not fair to me. It's not fair to you. It's not fair to the other players. It's just awkward, right? So then I did one of the dumbest things a boyfriend could do. We're playing 10-20 limit hold'em at this place called the Raising Room or whatever. And she's buried. 10-20, she's stuck like 3,500. Okay? I'm up like 2,000. Right? I'm killing the game. And hand, like, she bets a flop, I raise. She check calls the turn. She check folds the river. I have air. I missed my draw. So the smart thing to do would be to just take my cards, go in the muck, and give a grimace like, you know, had you, right? Instead, old Dean Eggs turned it over and showed her the fucking bluff.
Oh.
Literally 30 seconds later, she got up from the table. We heard boom, 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 boom.
Wow.
In the bathroom. She's busting shit up. And then I was supposed to take a cab with her back. I wasn't able to get in the cab because she kicked me in the shins. Fair. Totally deserved. Kicked me in the shins, pushed me and told me to fuck off. And I was like, yeah, I guess I deserve that. And I remember this old guy, really old guy, I was like in his 80s. He looked at me like, he just went, yeah, you don't do that one, Danny. He's like, that's not the way to do it. Yeah.
Oops. Terrence, how about you? You play hard against everybody, right?
Yeah, of course. I want to answer the question more specifically, which I think you already did, Adam, which is that I think if anything, when people are on TV, they make more moves. I think there's 2 types of games, right? So like in the games that are sort of TV games that are like among, you know, professional players or among experienced players, there's a lot of goofing around, fucking around. You mentioned the Phil and Antonio kind of stuff. The other effect that you see on TV is when people who aren't used to being on TV play on TV, and they often tend to just play much more scared. And then you don't see those guys making moves as much. I mean, I always try to play, you know, not that I've been on a lot of TV tables, but I've been on enough. I try to just ignore completely and play poker the best I can. I don't get into the heads of the sort of like, oh, this guy will try not to look dumb on TV, or he might be trying to make a move because he's on TV. I don't get into that stuff because in the TV tournaments that I've made, because I'm nobody, I'm not a famous person. Like they're usually because it's like a final table of something, and so usually the players at that table are good. Whereas I think Daniel will be in a different situation where the TV table is a TV table because he's on it. And we saw this with the main event of the World Series of Poker a couple years back, where, you know, people are absolutely terrified not only of Daniel, but of also probably making a mistake on TV and having all their friends see that. So they're playing extra scared. So the adaptations for TV, I think, are interesting, but I think they're different than what Rupert said.
I remember a hand I was playing at the Commerce, and my brother Dan was in the pot, and I was in the 40-80 limit hold'em, and he was in the 60-120, and I got stuck. So obviously I'm going to kick up, and I saw how good the 60 game was, so I jumped in, and I had position on him. And I remember this hand like it was yesterday. I raised, and I got, I don't know, 7 calls, some huge amount of calls. Like this pot got so big by the river, and it was down to Dan and I by the river, and the pot was huge, and I think I had top 2, and he rivered some weird set with a draw. He had some weird draw and ended up rivering a set, and it's just the 2 of us. And I'm telling you, this pot had 1 million blinds in it. He checks, I bet he raised me, and I called, and he shows me the set, and just like laughed and pointed out like it was just brutal, right? And yeah, so I mean, you got to play hard. He's my brother, and you still have to play hard. So
yeah. All right.
Email number
004. It might jump up on the low.
Hey, gents, this is Rob from Ann Arbor, Michigan. I have a question for you related to online poker. So my home game is moved online like everyone else's, and we're using PokerStars home games with play chips. A few of my friends in the game, who are otherwise pretty smart, think that PokerStars is rigged, that, we're seeing way too many good hands, seeing too many coolers, and they use this as a way to entice people to play more on the site. Now, I think that's ridiculous, and I think we're just seeing more hands, and we're not used to seeing this frequency of hands. So anyway, if you could provide any insight, I think at least 2 of you have worked there, and then provide any, if you can point us to any kind of written evidence, if there is any, that'd be great too. And by all means, correct me if I'm wrong. Love the podcast. Keep up the great work. Take care.
Wait, Stars is rigged, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh,
especially if you cash out.
They're all rigged.
The cash out curse. Yeah.
I saw a thing like that. The guy on Barstool wrote this week that he thought like ACR was rigged for action hands, and it's like of all the problems that ACR has, that's probably not one of them.
Yeah, it's yeah. And he said the funny part was that of that call is he said a couple of reasonably intelligent people, otherwise intelligent people, think it's rigged. I'm like, I'm not sure that they can be otherwise intelligent.
I think that's the case. Like the thing is that the human brain is really bad at pattern recognition, and it like sees patterns where that there aren't patterns. So if you see somebody get a straight flush 2 hands in a row, like it really sticks in there. Like that will happen if you play enough poker. But I mean,
the other added more important part, and he sort of touched on, was the fact you're playing online, right?
Yeah.
When you play live poker, you play 25 to 35 hands. You play online, you're playing 60 to 70. So if you got aces twice in an hour live, you getting aces 4 times in an hour online might seem like a lot more, but really in terms of number of hands, it's the same. The RNG, the random number generator on Stars and most of the sites, has been verified, and they really just don't have incentive to alter the software to create this kind of actiony thing. It's kind of like it's very Kanon conspiracy theory type madness. Like, so I would strongly suggest, or I would strongly back the idea that the RNG works well. And you could even test it yourself. If you track all your hands, right? So you could like keep a HUD of some sort and track all the hands that you play. And then you sort of look at that. And if you wanted to, you could manually deal out cards and see how often, you get kings when you do it with your cards or when you do it online. In fact, online, the number, it's going to be even more pure because the cards are completely random and shuffled perfectly. If I shuffle the cards, I'm terrible at shuffling. Like I bring the cards together like this, all of a sudden the deuces stick together or whatever. So you don't get from a deck of cards as pure of a run out as you would in terms of card distribution as you would online, simply because of, card shuffling.
I actually had a friend of mine who knows nothing about poker said that a computer random number generator could not shuffle a deck of cards correctly because there's too many combinations.
I don't even know what that means.
But yeah, so this has been around since like the beginning of online poker. I did deal with these conspiracy theories in 2002, and it's been around since the beginning. And it's natural because people like to look for conspiracy theories. But what Daniel said is about tracking hands, and you can't do that on PokerStars Play Money because I believe that PokerStars Play Money, they won't write the hand histories to your hard drive. They will for real money, but I think it's too much work for the servers to just
pen and paper, buddy.
So that's what I mean. Like, so you could write them out with pen and paper and literally be like, okay, I played 2,000 hands. I got pocket aces this many times and kings this many times. But the thing is that it's been done. Poker Tracker exists, right? So for those who don't remember, in the 2000s, Poker Tracker was what everybody used to keep track of their databases, and people wrapped up like 5 million hands. And hey, it turns out you get aces once out of every 221 hands. It turns out you make your flush 35% of the time, like you're supposed to. All these things like come out, and if they didn't come out, there would be so many professional poker players who knew about it, and it would be public knowledge that there was some sort of non-random element to it. It just has never happened on any site. We've had cheating scandals on many sites. I mean, at least a handful of sites. I mean, I shouldn't say many, but 3 or 4 sites. But the idea that like the flops are juiced, or that you get extra good hole cards or extra good fancy flops, that has never happened on not only Stars but any site ever that has ever existed in the history of online poker that I'm aware of that plays for real money.
That's a good defense. I like it.
Yeah.
All right.
Email number.
It's number 5.
Hi, I'm a big fan of your podcast, and so I was just playing a ridiculously way too low stakes of game or tournament, and battled back from like pretty much 1 or 2 big blinds to win the whole thing with a couple friends, and it just made me think that I should ask, what is the worst off you've ever been in a tournament and somehow battled back to win it? Because I don't know. I feel like that just might be an interesting story. Love the podcast. You guys have a good night.
I don't play tournaments, so I've never won them. So I'll go ahead and ask Terrence and Dan.
I play tournaments. I don't win them very often. But I mean, I used to play sit and goes for a living. So there's lots of times when you're in a sit and you have like 3/4 of a big blind and you end up winning heads up. Like it's happened to me a lot where I had like 1 or 2% of all the chips in play, and I ended up winning the sit and go.
I'm looking for the trophies because my trophies are right here. I'm looking for it. I can't find it. But Bicycle Club, way back when I was a grinder, small tournament, 300 buy-in or something like that, playing Omaha or better, high-low, which is a good game to be a short stack in because all you got to do is get 1/4 of the pot and you're still alive, right? So the blind was 2 and 400. Like, so 400 was the big blind. I had 100. So I had like 1/4 of a big blind. And I won like a 4-way pot. And now I had 2 in the next one. And I won that. And I had like 16. And boom, boom, boom. Scooped, hit the river, blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden, win the tournament. It's like very Scotty Wynn, it reminds me of. Because Scotty Wynn and Kerry Katz is the more recent version of this. They're guys that just wait and wait and wait. All these push-shove charts that say like, go all in with 10 bigs. Not these two. No, they just wait until they actually have it. Or however long that freaking takes.
They got a version of the same app, but it just says Ace King Plus.
Exactly. The strategy, it actually has some merit to it because what happens when the blinds get up there, like say for example, take a typical, high roller tournament, right? These 5Ks on GG, for example. You take one of these and, like say a 5K buy-in or whatever, max late rate, you get 10 big blinds, okay? Sounds stupid. Why would you do that with 10 bigs? But then you look and you see that the average stack is 23 big blinds. So you realize that like, as the tournament progresses, as the stacks get shallower, you're nowhere near as far behind, as you would be early on. So if you had 10 big blinds in level 1 and another guy has 300, you're pretty screwed. But when the average is only 22 or 23, having a short stack, and most tournaments end up getting to that point where they go up really quickly, that you're not that far off. I saw so many World Series final tables that I've been involved with the last couple of years where a guy's got big blind, 2 big blinds left and just runs it up and wins the fucking tournament. Like it happens all the time in these spots because, again, because you're not that far ahead and you're not that far behind when the stakes are really high in the in the high levels of the blinds.
You've just talked so many people into playing like a nit. Poker is going to be golden now for a little while.
I mean, I feel like I've busted out of so many tournaments recently because I think, I should just shove ace-7 here from the cutoff.
Chart says so.
You probably should.
Yeah, but it never feels good when they, have ace-jack. All right, do you want to read one?
Sure, let's go.
Email number.
It's number 5.
Did I just do that one?
Yes, you did. This is number 6.
Okay. Should I do that? All right.
Yeah.
Email number
6.
Yeah, because we got to get as close to 9 as possible. My favorite drop. Scott from Shanghai writes, and this is from August of 2019. Sorry, Scott, we are getting around to it now. I'm a Canadian currently living in Shanghai and was wondering if anybody knows what Yukon Brad Booth is up to these days. I remember when he brought those huge stacks of bills to the table in season 3 of High Stakes Poker, I believe. I heard he went through some hardships a few years ago and was wondering if he's still playing poker or has gone on to other things. So where I live, Brad is actually from a town called Mission, which is probably 10 minutes down the road here. He's not from he went to the Yukon, but he's from Mission. I was pretty good friends with Brad back in the day, and I haven't heard from him in the last few years. I know he was playing in Vegas, grinding, trying to get out of a hole that he might have dug himself into, but I haven't. I don't know if you guys heard anything about him.
I think I got a text from him in about 2014. That would be the last time.
Yeah.
I haven't seen him in quite a while. Like, we would have probably heard if he was in Vegas or California. So
that's true. Yeah.
He's probably playing online somewhere. I would imagine, just remembering like how much of a grinder he was, because there was a point where I think he said 361 days he played poker or something like that, and he stayed at the Bellagio. Like, he lived at the Bellagio, which is probably not ideal. Like,
You're not even supposed to be allowed to do that. Like, there's like a law against that in Vegas, so staying more than 30 days in a hotel.
There's ways around it. You check out for an hour or something. But yeah, I think he told me his bill every month at the Bellagio was, I don't know, 25 or 30,000. I think he was staying in Guy's suite for a while though. Guy had a suite there or something. I can't remember.
Anything but playing poker.
I think he wrote a book about money management actually, and retired off of that.
My Yukon Brad story, actually, my favorite one, well, the only one I have really, is when I was like 14 or something, and I was on a family trip to go see my mom's family in Halifax, and we stopped at the Keg, is the local restaurant here, and we were sitting, and this is right during the poker boom, the full tilt boom, everything, and it was in the middle of the World Series, and we sat down to have dinner, and across the restaurant, I saw Yukon Brad, and I was a poker fan, so I waited till he was, his girlfriend was on the phone or something, and I walked over and I said, hey, like, can I get a photo? And he was super nice, took the photo, and then, he like emailed it to me, and we like corresponded a little bit, and then when we were, the guy came up and he was like, do you guys want dessert? And we were like, no, it's okay. They're like, you should get dessert. It's covered. So
that's nice of him. Yeah. Brad's a really, really nice guy. I know he had obviously some troubles and went through some issues and stuff, but he is, I know him pretty well. He's a really genuine guy.
When I went to Vancouver, I was in there for a few days. I went and I visited him or whatever. He put on the best party and was just super hospitable, great guy, had a great group of friends. I'm old school, right? Like, I know a lot of guys who had, gambling issues and did a lot of dumb shit. I'm not like this new age culture where we condemn them to like, shit, he did some dumb shit. He probably meant well, but made some mistakes, maybe screwed some people over too. But overall, I like the guy. I mean, he's a good dude as far as I'm concerned, good dude who did some stupid things.
Yeah. All right.
Email number
7.
Jason writes in and he says, just need a quick opinion from the masters. I'm playing a $60 daily at the local card room, 101 runners, and the prize pool is $4,995, which means 25% plus in juice. I short stack my way to the final table. As we are getting ready to put cards in the air, the tournament direction makes mention that the dealers are not included in the rake, so any tips are to be appreciated. One of the players says, let's take 10% off the top for the dealers before we start. I say that's ridiculous. No way I'm agreeing to that. People seemed sort of shocked that I would agree. I busted the first hand, so I'm not sure if the rest of the table agreed, but it sounded like it as I was walking away to collect my $45 in profit for 3 hours. Guess I will put off retirement for now. Am I out of line? A 9-table tournament lasts 4 hours, and we're going to tip the dealer $500. My usual is 3 to 5%, maybe a hair more if I luck sacked my way into first place. First place was like $1,449, and I probably would have tipped $100, which still seems high, but maybe I am a cheap bastard. Love the show, been listening for years.
Well, he's not a cheap bastard, that's for sure. 3 to 5% is pretty generous, right?
It's hard because it's such a low stakes tournament, right? So like if you're tipping 3% in the main event of the World Series of Poker, you are very generous. You're a very generous person, and you should be applauded for that.
The hourly of the dealer is probably higher than theirs.
I hate that the rest of the people chose to do this, right?
Yeah.
Like, okay, so, why are you forcing people into choosing what number to tip? Like, let the winner decide. You tip what you want. Whatever you get paid, you tip what you want. You've paid your rake. You don't have to tip if you don't want to. And if you want to tip 2 to 3%, to be bullied into like taking 10% off the top, like I don't think the venom that he received was due. And I'm somebody who's overall pretty stupidly generous in spots like that, but I don't like
shaming.
Or forcing people to say you must tip this. I'm like, no, tip what I want. So I think, frankly, in that tournament, 2 to 3% from everybody who cashed was plenty.
Yeah, I think it's fine too. I mean, like tip shaming has to go. I mean, some people will argue, get into a whole discussion of the tipping culture in general about like how it's whether it's wrong. I mean, I think
donation shaming when fucking a guy when Bill Gates donates like I don't know 10 million or 100 million, people go, oh, big deal, that's like 50 cents for me. I'm like,
oh, I hate that.
Because it's like 100 million.
Yeah.
Because you didn't write Microsoft, because you didn't create Microsoft, so fuck you. You don't get to tell him how he spends his money.
That's the worst, because that money does real difference, and people will say, "Oh, it's only 0.03% of his income." But it's $10 million going to charity.
It pisses me off. So he's somebody who Mike McDonald, and I actually appreciate his response on this when it comes to money and why he tries to not spend more, is because he plans on holding this big money to do some good in the world with it, right? So if I'm Bill Gates and there's a problem, and I think to cover this problem, it could probably be done with about 50 million, right? So I'll give them 50 million, not 200 million, even though I could. 200 million wouldn't change my life either with 50, but it doesn't make any sense for me to give more than 50 if I think 50 solves the problem. So that way I can use the other 150 to solve a different problem, which is what this guy does. The guy's trying to cure malaria. Meanwhile, people in America are trying to put him in prison because they think he invented COVID so that he can create a vaccine and maybe he would be a billionaire or whatever the hell that is.
Yeah, everybody knows it's the 5G towers. It reminds me of you mentioned, you brought up Timex, really funny thing, because I think you tweeted something like, is anybody close to Canmore, Alberta, like available to pick up a wireless charger for me for my laptop because my laptop died? I'll pay you I think it was like $300 plus the price of the charger. And then Max Silver was like, there goes Timex again, giving shitty tips.
That was good. All right, let's do 2 more. So we get to drop number 9, and the next one is a good one for Daniel to read. So we'll go there.
Email number
0800.
So this one comes from Miles. Hey, DAT Poker Podcast. I recently took a trip to Phoenix, Arizona, and played at Talking Stick Resort and Casino. Played a few days, and the last day I was there, they ran some promotions for Super Bowl Sunday, and the room gets packed for the game at 8 in the morning, so you have to get there early and hope to not lose your stack before the game starts. I had a good session and was up on the day about 500, playing 2-3 spread limit. When I was playing my last hand of the day before I had to leave, I was on the button with ace-3 off when it folded to the low jack, who made it $10. And the hijack, I called. And the hijack and I called, although probably the wrong play, but wanted to play my last hand. Okay. And the small
always a good reason.
Flop comes ace, ace, 10. Small blind bets, 10. Low jack and hijack fold, he calls. So it's heads up. Turn comes another 10. Small blind bets 60, I call. River comes at 3. Small blind bets 50. I raise to 175. And the small blind instantly raised me to 475. I've played with this guy for about 9 hours, and he's extremely tight. And I know there's a good chance he's trying to just blow me off a chop. But I just can't help but think he has pocket tens. I call, and of course he has the pocket tens. Other than I probably shouldn't have played the hand from the beginning, can I ever make that fold? Okay, so the board ended up running out ace, ace, 3, or ace, ace.
10, 10,
10,
3.
10, 3.
10, 10, 3. Okay.
I have a question for both Daniel, everybody. So out of all the poker that all three of you guys have played in your life, how many 3-bet on the river to blow a guy off of chops have you seen?
0.
In no limit.
None. Oh, that's not true. I've seen it when Broadway's on board.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, I've seen it in online poker, but like realistically,
no.
on a board where you yourself don't have the nuts.
Right.
I want to tell Miles one thing here, right? Because there is a very big mistake. Obviously, you know, we're talking about the pre-flop. You shouldn't have played. The last hand thing, that's kind of silly, but hey, you do you, right? The real big mistake is this. You've described this guy, right, as an extremely tight player you've played with for another. Okay? So he bet on an ace-ace flop. Then he bet on the 10. So when it comes ace-ace, 8-10-10, yes, you have an ace. First of all, what do you think he does have? Okay? What do you think he does have? And if you raise him, what do you think he will call you with?
Yep.
Right? So the mistake was when he bets 50 on the river, you just have to call and go, hopefully this is a chop. And it should be a chop because he doesn't have pocket tens here. Doesn't seem very likely. Possible, but very unlikely. But there's no point. This is one of those spots where there's like no point in raising. Kind of like, you know, when say, for example, I bet the river on a 10, Jack, Queen, King 3 board. I bet the river and Terrence raises me. There's no point in me re-raising him to chop. Right? That's like, but actually it's worse in this case because you could lose. You don't even have the nuts here. So there's just the raise on the river was really, really not good.
Yeah, and the call, even worse.
Well, how can you not call? The board is ace.
Well, I guess, yeah, you've already put the money into the call for sure, yeah.
But the flop was what? The flop was ace-ace-10, right?
Ace-ace 10, 10 turn, 3 river, yeah. So he's got
the 1 card full house, and so he only really
full house, he flopped 10s full.
Yeah.
And then it came 3 and then 10 on. Okay, so
two turn quads.
Yeah, but yeah, this is the exact problem, right? So you raise this guy, he's not gonna fold the ace. You think he's gonna fold the chop? Come on, he's not folding it. So then when he re-raises,
so you're value raising a 10. Like that's the only way you ever make money from this is your value raising a 10. The question is like, does this guy ever play 10-9 suited like this? And the answer is no.
No.
No, it's just you. There's no, you were anti-free rolling yourself. There's no value in your raise. There's only anti-value, especially when you get 3-bet as you did, and then have to shrug, pay it off. Because I think you kind of do have to call.
I will actually give a lot of props to this guy who's supposedly super tight and nitty. His sizing is actually kind of fantastic. Like he makes a very small underbet here. Kind of, he knows his customer. Kind of like, oh, if this guy is an ace, he's gonna pop me for sure, and I can pop him back. Whereas if he actually let out for like 120, maybe the guy would have called. So like there's, I didn't do the math on this end, but I think there's like 200 in this pot. And so he only bets a quarter pot on the river, trying to induce a raise from an ace, which I actually thought is like really clever. I thought this was like a good exploit where you know your customer. I'm like, if I bet this pot, maybe it looks like I do have a 10, and then this guy will raise me with a naked ace, and I've got these pocket 10s, and I'm gonna stuff it.
I don't like it though. I don't like it because there's one other aspect to that like if I'm targeting an ace, right, that I want the guy to raise me with an ace, if I bet huge on the river, if I bet 2, he's not folding an ace. You're never folding. So if you bet small and he just flats with an ace, you've just burned a whole bunch of equity that you would have got if you just bet, like, say there's 200 in the pot, bet 400, bet it all. You think the guy's going to fold an ace?
That's true, but he made 475 on the hand. He got
470, but he could have made 475 by just
leading 475.
Shoving,
I guess. I mean,
it's safer because typically, like a good player, no offense, bud, Miles, but a good player is not going to raise you there with an ace if you bet 200. He's just going to call.
Yeah.
But he's also, if you bet 400, he's not folding. Not folding an ace. He's going to call, and
The next email here is actually how I got so much value off a perceived chop at Talking Stick.
I'm going to change it up. I got a different one to read. Go.
Okay.
Email number
9.
Last one, right?
Yes, love that drop. Last one, Nick. I managed to win my first tournament this week in the weekend on the GG series. Yay, way to go, Nick. But it came after a number of fairly deep runs, and I definitely felt that I was becoming more used to the latter stages of tournaments, which gave me an edge. I only had a few spots where I was sweating a runoff or a bluff shove. but even then, it wasn't truly uncomfortable. Can each of you guys remember when the last time you made a bet that really made you sweat, either because of the money on the line or was more of a personal outcome? Do you think that making yourself feel so much discomfort is plus EV in the long run when making bets in the future? Oh, that's a good question. Terrence, do you remember the last time you sweated an outcome because it was a lot of money on the line?
Floyd Mayweather, Conor McGregor.
No, when you were taking the don't?
I bet a lot of money on Floyd. So
yeah,
first round, I mean, it got over it pretty quickly. By the end of round 3, I was like, oh, Floyd's got this. But it was still enough that it was uncomfortable, and it wasn't as much as I tried to get, because I was really moving money online. But it was like, you know how it is moving money online. Like wire transfers don't go through that quickly, all this kind of stuff. I bet an uncomfortable amount on that fight of my worth, and it paid off. It was a nice sweat. That's the one thing about sports bets, is that they feel very different from poker bets. I think you guys will agree with this, right? Like Daniel bets as a percentage of your net worth. What are you betting on hockey? Like not very much, right? But you are so tilted when you lose a hockey bet that it's so much fun. So that was the last one that I bet where I was like, got the palms a little sweaty. I think the second question is great. Do you think you're making yourself feel like uncomfortable getting the best of it in the long run is worth it? Yes. I think you should never bet an amount that, like, if you lose, it'll crush you financially. And if you're the kind of person that will, you might fall into a depression or you might have a gambling addiction, then you definitely shouldn't bet overly large. But if it's an amount that you're financially comfortable with, and it's a plus EV bet, I think there definitely is value to putting more money on it than makes you comfortable, and I think that does make you a better gambler in the long run, because plus EV spots are not forever, right? So for example, bringing it to poker, taking a shot in a big cash game is really juicy, but it's twice the stakes you normally play. But you look in there and you're like, man, 7 of those guys play in the smaller game than I play in, and they all suck. I can go in there and take a shot and crush, but I'm gonna be a little bit nervous. I think you should play in that game most of the time. I mean, maybe you should get staked, or you should sell off some action, but I think it's good for your growth in the long run to take that gamble in good spots.
Yeah, I love the pain. I mean, I'm being a professional gambler. You live for the highs and lows, and for me, the last time I can think of, and it's not about the amount of money. It wasn't about that for me. It was just about, I don't know, the ambitious line that I took. It was actually a poker hand from earlier today that I was playing when I was playing online, and it was a hand where it was a no limit hand where I raised Jack 10, the button called, the big blind called. The flop was Ace Queen 3. First player checks, check, button bets quarter pot. The big line calls. I overcall with the Jack 10, getting a decent price to try to snap off the king. Turn is a 6, goes check, check, check. River's an off 9, check to me. There's 7. I thought this is a really good spot for me to rep big, and I bet pot. And I'm like, the dude is tanking, and I'm going like this. I was talking to my brother on the phone. I'm like, oh shit. I was like, bro, I need the full fold. I know he's got an ace, but I gotta get him to fold. My brother's like, because I was on FaceTime with him, just having a chat. And I was like, come on. And they both folded. And I literally went, yeah, like Rocky. Like I just won the freaking World Series Poker main event.
Did you show it?
I didn't show it, no.
Aw. Poor Evelyn just took it out of you.
She's the one who gets shown.
Yeah.
I wasn't playing on software where you're able to do that. It wasn't quite.
I see.
Yeah.
I remember 2 specific ones. Just at the time, it was a big deal. I remember I was playing on Party Poker. I think I might have had like a $40,000 or $50,000 bankroll or something on there, and I'm playing in 2550 PLO, and I ran a stack from like 2 to 10,000. There was tons of money on the table. There was I couldn't believe how much money there was, and I get a hand. I pick up, and I'm thinking, maybe I should cash out. Run it up pretty good. I'll be nice to add the money into my account, and I get dealt the ace king double suited, and I raise it up, and it goes raise. Next thing you know, 5 of us are all in pre-flop.
Ooh. So you're like 30% to win.
Yeah. And I'm just, oh my God. And it was uncomfortable, to say the least, because, as much as my bankroll was in the middle, and I ended up aces held up. And it was like ran out with like 3-3 on the board, and aces and threes won the pot, and I just went bananas.
That's the
Jumped
thing
up,
where like
screamed.
you wish it was on GG Poker and you could literally peel every card.
No,
Yeah,
I
just
wanted
every
it over.
single one.
I wanted it over right away. I didn't want the pain. The other
No,
one,
I don't think I could have been in the room. Like, I think if I was in like
Yeah.
a 5-way all in for like more money than I could handle, I think I would have like just clicked the all in button and ran out of the room. And I either come back and I have nothing or I have all the money.
And then on the old party poker software, it takes them like 10 minutes to ship you all the side pots.
Oh, you get the congratulations.
Like
Woo!
like
You get the
6
balloons and the
side pots.
fireworks. Oh yeah, it's the best. And then he mentioned it. Nick said, personally, and I think the Bill Perkins bet that I had, obviously, yeah, I sweat a lot because I was in a sauna every week for 8 weeks, but it was really uncomfortable, and it put me, through a lot of discomfort. And as far as it being plus EV in the long run, absolutely, I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about how nutrition works, about how my body works, about what people are capable of. Going from 237 to whatever, I ended up at 149 or something in 10 months. I mean, that was definitely a lot of discomfort. And yeah, I think it's good to put yourself in really difficult situations, because I think you learn a lot about yourself and other things too. All right, that is going to wrap it up for the first version of the video cast. As long as we can keep doing this each week, we'll try. It'll also be podcast in our normal form. It'll be in there. So hit us up on Twitter. I am at A Schwartz Poker, at T Chan Poker, and of course at Real Kid Poker. And Roscoe is at Producer Ross. Ross, if people want to leave a voicemail for the show, what number should they call?
Oh yeah, and I guess I can say, like and subscribe below.
Oh yeah, we gotta do
don't
that
do
thing,
that.
yeah.
Don't do that.
Mash the subscribe button.
Call us on the voicemail at 1775-434-2932. Rate, review.
Yes.
I think it would be fun if more people made their online poker avatars the DAT Poker logo. So go.
Nice. Give us some love. All right. Thanks to everybody out there. Thanks to you guys for getting together. Thanks, Ross, for putting this together, and we will talk to you soon.
See you later, Paul. Pal. See ya.